Welcome back to Montana Haven. If you are new to our channel, my name is Priscilla, and this is my youngest daughter. Can you tell them your name?
Chloe.
Yeah, Chloe Shalom. Today it's pretty cold. It was like 6 degrees this morning, and yesterday it was like -1. It's not terrible, but it's pretty chilly. But it was just beautiful outside this morning. The mountains just look glorious. But what I want to show you today, or talk to you about today, is all about sourdough. So the way to start making your own sourdough is very simple. And I'm going to tell you as much as I know, and then I'm going to direct you to some others like Farmhouse on Boone. And she has a ton of recipes, and she talks about sourdough, and she talks about the science behind it. And the main thing I know is sourdough breaks down the grain. Like, it breaks it down, it ferments it, and so that we can digest like bread and rolls and whatever we make with sourdough a lot better. Like, it digests in our system a lot better. It breaks it down. It's just like kombucha and milk kefir, yogurt, stuff like that, sauerkraut that is fermented a little bit. So that is why sourdough is a lot better for you than just using regular yeast. So I got some notes here that I'm going to share with you. So what you need to start your sourdough is flour and water. And I have realized that if I use unbleached white flour, it really does a good job. So I would start with unbleached white flour and sometimes mix in wheat flour to start your starter. Now, or wheat flour, spelt flour, probably almost any kind of flour, but I've only worked with spelt and unbleached white, so that's all I know, and it's worked fine. But you will need, on day one, you will mix 1 cup of flour to 3/4 cup of filtered water. Now, I just use my well water. I don't have filtered water, but probably if you have city water or something, you want filtered water. Now, the lady on Farmhouse on Boone calls for 1 cup of flour and 1 cup of water, but I've realized that makes my sourdough too thin. So I've just gone with 1 cup of flour to 3/4 cup of water. And now I don't even measure, because I know my consistency. I know what I want. And okay, you want to stir that up vigorously, making sure that you scrape down the sides and incorporate everything. And you probably want to use a glass bowl. Plastic might work, but you don't want to use stainless steel or anything else, because your sourdough might not work as well. But once you start using it, like in recipes, like in bread and stuff, it's totally fine to use a stainless steel bowl to make your breads and stuff. But just to do the starter, you would probably like to use like a glass container. And then you want to place a tea towel over it, or loosely cover it with plastic wrap so that it can breathe a little, and allow it to sit for 24 hours. And I wasn't always exactly 24 hours. I just did it every evening, you know. And so on day 2, you discard half of that mixture. You get rid of it. And, you know, for some of you, it's hard to do that probably, to get half of it. It's like you're wasting a lot. But you will have to do that, or it will accumulate. Because if you would not do that, by day 4 or so, the starter would be overflowing. Also, removing half ensures the right amount of flour and water is feeding and growing the beneficial yeast. If you weren't discarding half, the half cup of flour wouldn't be enough to feed them on days 3 and 4. Basically, you would end up with a lot of extra starter by the end of the process, and none of it would be mature. So that is the reason why you have to take off half of the mixture. So yeah, day 2, you do exactly the same thing. You take off half of the mixture, and then you add a cup of flour and 3/4 cup of water. And then you do the same thing on day 3 and 4, and on day 6 and 7, you do the same thing, but you feed it every 12 hours instead of every 24 hours, because by then you will begin to see that your sourdough starter is beginning to activate. Like you will see little bubbles, you will see little things happening to it, you will see that it is activating. And the reason you cover it kind of loosely is so that it can grab the yeast from the air. And by day 7, there should be enough beneficial bacteria and yeast present to bake sourdough bread and other fermented sourdough goodies like pancakes and English muffins. You will know it's working if it's bubbles and doubles in size, so it like grows a little bit. Once your sourdough starter is alive and active, there will be some maintenance to keep it going for years and years. So this lady on Farmhouse on Broon had her sourdough starter already for 8 years, I believe. And mine is only like a month old, but I've given away some already, because that's one thing you can do. If you have lots of active starter and you know people that want some, you can give it to them, because, or you can do that yourself. If you know someone who has active starter, you can ask them for some, and then you don't have to go through this 7 day process of making your own sourdough. You already have your own sourdough starter and you can go from there. Now, if you have active sourdough starter and you are not using it, like you know you're not going to be using it in the next couple days, put it in the fridge. It is just fine in the fridge, and that way you do not have to feed it every day. If you have it outside sitting on your counter, you have to give it a feed every day. You have to give it some flour and water every day. But if you put it in the fridge, you really don't have to feed it except like once a week maybe, and so it does not accumulate nearly as fast. If you do want to use it, don't take it out the morning that you want to use it. Take it out the night before and give it a good feed so that it is rich and bubbly the next morning or the next day when you want to start your bread, or you want to make your whatever you want to do. Yeah, whatever you want to make. You want to usually take it out of the fridge the night before you actually use it. And let's say if you want to make pancakes like on Saturday morning, then you want to get this thing out of the fridge Friday morning, and you want to feed it, because by Saturday evening you want to take some of that out and you want to mix in some more flour in that starter that you took out and prepare it for your pancakes the next day. And then you just put the rest of this back in the fridge, and you have your starter and your mixture for your pancakes for Saturday morning. So the thing about sourdough is you have to think ahead. You have to plan ahead instead of just being spontaneous and thinking, oh, I want to make bread today, or yeah, I want to make pancakes this morning. You have to actually think a day or two ahead of time so that you can take your starter out of the fridge, give it a feed, and let it sit for at least 12 hours before you can actually make something with it. And if you do make something with it, it always takes longer. Like bread, the bread I make takes 2 days to make. The cinnamon rolls takes about 2 days to make. And pancakes, I have to do the starter, get part of it ready the night before I do it in the morning. So that's why sourdough seems complicated, but it's actually not complicated. It's so simple. You just have to be aware of time. And so that's what my wisdom that I share with you. And I'm guessing most of you who start your sourdough will keep it in the fridge most of the time, because you just don't use that much. You just can't use that much. But I have been using it a lot because I've been trying out recipes, and so usually over weekends I've been putting it into the fridge. And I've given some away, so yeah, I've had it out a lot. But I hope this is helpful. I feel like I might have forgotten things, but I wanted to start off by showing you how to start your own sourdough before I actually give you recipes, just so you have, you know what to do. like you have a sourdough if you want it. So I'm just encouraging you, it's not as hard as it feels. It literally took me years and years to start my sourdough because I felt like it was too complicated and I couldn't keep up with it. But if you put it in the fridge, you can keep up with it. And if you sometimes want to give some away, and if you have chickens, just give some of your excess away, and you won't have that much. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. This is probably not so long, but I wanted to put this out here for you guys. And I hope you try it because it's definitely not as hard. I think often it's in your mind. You just think it's overwhelming and too hard, so you don't do it. But I just love that I don't have to buy yeast. I don't have to do, I will still do yeast recipes because I like that. But I love my sourdough and I love making these crusty breads and cinnamon rolls and pancakes. I'm trying to think if I've also made this wonderful Alfredo pizza, chicken Alfredo pizza, and I also did like a steak Alfredo pizza where I used our elk steak, sliced them up with this sourdough for the crust. And literally it's so simple how to make this crust. Just so simple. It's literally you just use sourdough starter and some seasoning, salt and stuff. And yeah, I can't wait to show you some recipes. But anyways, I'm gonna close this out and we will see you on the next video. We have quite a bit planned. We have some announcements we want to make after a while. So just stay tuned, subscribe down below and hit that bell so that you're notified or you might miss some of these videos. So thank you so much guys, and we will see you all on the next video.